and welcome to another episode, Timeless Personal Growth and Development. Today we're talking about therapy. Modern day therapy. Does it work? Does not work. Everyone has their own experience with it. And I'll share my experience with it. I probably started therapy maybe when I was like 18, 19, and it was nothing for anything serious. It was silly stuff. Like, I'm upset because there's this girl in college that I like and I don't know how to approach her. Stuff like that. Other than that, I don't really remember what the therapy was. It was for, I was feeling anxious, I was feeling depressed or whatever, silly stuff like that. And remember one point, I think it was in 2008, I was put on antidepressants for something, it's something I didn't need. Because I was off that stuff within 3 months. I didn't like the way it was making me feel. I felt tired and lazy and unmotivated. I feel a lot better once I got out of it. But I'm talking about therapy, and my experience for therapy was not memorable, and I didn't find it very useful for me. And I hear some people are really big on therapy, going to therapy when things don't go well. And I think therapy is different for men and women to start, for a variety of reasons. I know, and I'll talk about a male perspective because I'm a male, and I know for me, the idea of going to someone and talking and having that chit chat to someone and paying someone $100 an hour to talk about my problems is not something that sounds very good. You think about that. Going and talking about a problem and then paying someone to talk about your problem and then just leaving. It sounds silly. It sounds stupid. I know therapy is meant to give you tools, give you emotional tools, or help you if you're having a problem, you don't know what the problem is, you go to therapy, they talk about the problem so you can identify the problem and figure out what it is. But the problem with it is, especially men go to therapy and feel pitied. They feel silly. They feel pathetic. And men don't want to go into a situation like that and feel pitied. As a man, if you're going to go into therapy, you talk to identify what the issue is. As soon as you're done talking, you make a plan to solve that problem. Men don't want to talk. We talk when we have to talk, when we have to solve the problem and identify the problem. Once we have identified the problem, that's enough talking about it, and now we need to solve it. Now we need to move forward. Now we need to take action to actually solve the problem and solve what the issue actually is. Because you think about it, a therapist profits off your problems, profits off your issues. If your problems and your issues continue, they profit off of that. And your problems get solved, well, they lose money for it, right? And a lot of problems, a lot of issues today, a lot of it would just be solved by taking action. But it's hard to take action when you don't know what the actual problem is. To identify the problem, therapy is very beneficial in that respect. But there's got to be a certain point where the talking ends and the action needs to be taken. So, if you're someone like, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling lost, I go to therapy to figure out what it is. Okay, you've gone to therapy, you talked about it, then what? Is talking about it going to make you feel less anxious and less depressed? The answer is no. For me, talking about problems, talking about issues, it actually makes it worse. It helps to identify what the problem is, but once it's identified, what makes you feel better is taking action on that problem, and that's what therapy doesn't do. Or I feel like doesn't do enough, or is not talked about, is that action needs to be taken. Feeling sad, feeling depressed, go outside, go get some sun, go exercise, go for a run. Do stuff you enjoy doing, because all you're doing is sitting and talking about an issue. The issue is never actually going to get solved. I have this problem at work, is I see all these problems at work that are never actually solved because all that people do is talk and whine and complain about the problem, and there's no action plan that gets put forth to actually solve that problem. That's the issue. You're feeling depressed, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling frustrated, you're numbing yourself with alcohol, you're numbing yourself with drugs, and you don't know how to move forward from that. Well, identify what the issue is. And if you have good friends who are very supportive and will sit and will listen to you, they can sit and listen to you talk, and they can help you solve the problem or identify what the problem is, and you don't have to pay them $100 for it because they're your friend. You can save money on it. If you're going to therapy, it has to be for a big issue. If you're suffering from post-traumatic stress, from abuse when you were younger, that's different. That's something you should be going to therapy for. If you're going to therapy, you're like, oh, I feel sad today. I've been feeling sad the last week, 2 weeks, the last month. It's like stuff like that. It's like, well, you need to start giving yourself a fighting chance. You need to start adopting healthy habits. If you adopt healthy habits, exercising, reading, getting sunlight, doing things that are enjoyable for you, spending time with people that you enjoy spending your time with, eating healthy, getting enough sleep, stuff like that. If you're doing all those things and you're still anxious and you're still depressed, okay, then you may look into talking to someone. But if you're going to therapy because someone has told you you should go to therapy, that's not a reason to go to therapy. You go to therapy because you want to, because you see the value in it. But just be aware, when you go to therapy and you go see a psychologist and you have sessions with them, just be aware there needs to be an end game to that. There needs to be an end. People go see psychologists and therapists for like 15, 20 years, and the problem doesn't get solved. It continues. And I've heard of stories of people going to see therapists for 15, 20 years, and they watch a YouTube video or 15-minute YouTube video that someone made, or watch a podcast, and that podcast has done more for them in like 15, 20 minutes of listening to that podcast than therapy's done for 15, 20 years, because it's a change in perspective. Complete change in perspective. Psychologists all go through the same training. They all go through the exact same training and dealing with the same problems. I think that's the issue. It's not a human beings and our mental and emotional health diagnosis to solve that problem is not a one-size-fit-all issue. There's different perspectives, different opinions. Everyone has their own side of the story. Everyone has their own ideas at how to solve a specific issue. So don't go in there thinking like, oh, well, psychologists are the be-all, end-all. I know how to solve all the problems. They don't. A lot of psychologists have problems themselves that they need to solve. And they're not going to be able to always solve their problems. Start by something simple. To start developing healthy habits, and start cruising through YouTube. YouTube is actually a really good helper in the sense of getting a better perspective. different opinion on things, and you don't have to pay money for it. You just listen to people talk. Download a podcast on your phone, listen to it while you drive, and like, oh wow, I never thought about it in that perspective. And there's so much on YouTube. There's so much. You can go into the search engine of YouTube and you can look up anything these days. Anything for free. Anxiety, depression, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and overcoming abuse, stuff like that. It's like YouTube is your free therapy. Take advantage of that. And if all else fails, your last resort should be actual therapy. On that note, thank you so much for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Do me a big favor and subscribe. Timeless Personal Growth and Development. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.